Hi everyone, my name's Sam and I'm currently working as a business development executive for a technology software company. I finished doing the full 7 years at grammar, both main school and sixth form in 2015, coming out with a A star in business, a B in history and a C in economics. Having finished sixth form, I went straight to the University of Liverpool, sticking with what I was good at in business management. I think the course was a pretty good fit for me because, to be honest, at the time I didn't really have a clue what I wanted to do in terms of work. From my past experiences and looking at my friends, regardless of what you learn at A level, you can kind of pick what course you want at uni, unless you're doing something specific like a science or engineering or law. Then the world's your oyster, really. So I'd advise picking something you enjoy. The same goes for your course, again, unless you want to be in something specific. I went to business management because, firstly, I was quite good at it from college, but mainly because it was a very varied course. Like I said before, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, so having the opportunity to study modules in business, economics, entrepreneurship, where you set up your own business, political modules, a bit of legal and psychological modules. Um, this kind of variety meant I got quite a good taste for a lot of different industries and a lot of different sectors, whilst ultimately trying to decide what I wanted to do. Um, I definitely recommend going to uni just because it's a good laugh, it's great fun. You'll meet people there you'll be mates with for the rest of your life, and you really just have a good time whilst doing something to better your employability and better your life prospects. Having said that, and I know it's not for everyone, and I've got mates who didn't go who do just as well for themselves. So it's really up to you. You just got to do what suits you best. Um, my course involved a year in industry, so that meant it was 4 years long, and on the third year, I did a placement year working. So, similarly to choosing my course, I didn't really have a clue what I wanted to do, so I shopped around quite a lot. And finally secured a placement in buying and merchandising at the parent company of TK Maxx, who are based in Watford, just outside of London. Um, the year was probably the best piece of education I've had in my life in terms of life experience and growing up as a person. When you work in a big multinational company, you meet and work with people from all over the world, quickly realizing you have more in common with them than a lot of people you've known your entire life, even though they're from an entirely different background. It really sort of it opened my outlook on people, my perceptions of how I approach situations, and just generally gave me a bit of a broader, more empathetic view on life, really. But as far as the actual job experience itself, I thought it was also excellent in terms of getting lots of training, exposure to working with some very intelligent people, quite high up people, um, and also the opportunity to travel. So on my placement, I went to Germany, Poland, Austria, and Portugal, which was nice for a week. All expenses paid. And all in all, once I was used to waking up early after you get a few lines at uni. So once you get used to waking up early again, I had a really good time doing it, and I would really recommend to anyone doing a degree that a placement year is a great way forward. Perhaps most importantly, really, just so you've got that ammunition and you've got that experience and things to talk about when you're applying for graduate jobs after uni. Um, and as well, having completed my placement year, I think doing it made my final year easier for me. So I went back and finished my degree. I got a pretty solid 2-1, which in uni terms is pretty good. Um, Personally, I found it a lot easier having done my placement year, like I said, just because I think things like work ethic and examples of things you can talk about in your essays and stuff, it's already in your head. Um, but following the end of my degree, I decided not to return to TK Maxx, primarily because all my friends were in or moving to Manchester, and then obviously my family is back in Clitheroe. So I decided London and the London area isn't really where I wanted to be at this point in my life. Um, but I did think I really enjoyed my placement. I'll pursue a career in buying. However, buying is quite a difficult thing to get into, especially up north. And I decided one of the ways into buying is to go through merchandising, as they're pretty linked. So just for some context, buyers essentially buy a product, so like items of clothes, whatever, and merchandisers decide what shops to put it in and where to sell it and how to sell it best. So the departments are very linked, and consequently, I thought I'll get a job in merchandising. So after that, I ended up at JD Sports in Bury. So living in Manchester, just commuting 20 minutes up to Bury. In merchandising, and quite naively, I sort of jumped into it, thinking it was going to be the same as my placement. It was going to be lots of travel, lots of meeting people. And ultimately, it wasn't really a graduate role. It was just a job. It was just an entry-level job. And for that reason and a few other reasons, it was just very different, and it left me feeling quite underutilized for somebody of my sort of qualifications and capabilities, undervalued, and to be honest, quite underpaid compared to some of my mates. So basically what I learned from it is that in job interviews and any conversations you have with people, you should always be asking as many questions as they're asking you, just so you fully understand what you're getting yourself into. But I did show a bit of grit and stuck at it, thinking we'll give it a chance for a year, hoping it would improve. But eventually came to the conclusion that if I stuck there in 5 years, I'm probably not going to be where I want to be. So I decided to move on. This time I was sort of faced with a different challenge of what do I want to do? Bearing in mind I've now already had 2 jobs. So do I stick trying to become a buyer? Bearing in mind that coronavirus has made the retail environment very tricky, let's say, and opportunities are a lot more few and far between. Again, Manchester is not as, or anywhere outside of London, doesn't have as many jobs as London. So if you choose to live there, it's something you have to take into account. But then I sort of drilled into what elements of buying did I actually enjoy. For me, it was going out to meet people, building relationships, using things like your emotional intelligence to figure out how other people work and how you can essentially get the best for them and the best for you. Sort of negotiation situations and manipulation, of using your language to try and get the best out of people, that kind of thing, and problem solving, working in an ever-changing environment. Those things are what really appealed to me about it, and what I really enjoyed about it, because it keeps you on your toes, it keeps you challenged. Having figured that out, which took quite a lot of reflection, I guess, and looking around at what all my other friends were doing, who work in all sorts of different roles, I came to the conclusion that actually a sales role would be quite good for me. So I was fortunate to end up where I am now in a business development role, which is essentially trying to find new business for the company I work for, talking to lots of people, etc., etc. So I was fortunate enough to land this job on Monday. So whilst I can't really go into what I love about it just yet, the advice I'd give to anyone who isn't sure on what they want to do, it's firstly that it's okay. If throughout your experiences over the next few years, be it in work or in general life, you can identify certain aspects that you really enjoy and can translate into a working environment, this will really help you in terms of looking for jobs. But just always remember your worth as well. Know what you've gone through in terms of your academic achievements, what kind of jobs you should be going for. Personally, I would recommend anything with graduate in the title if you've been to uni, just so they know who you are and you know what you're getting yourself into. So as well, whilst yes, you do have to be professional and sort of change how you are a little bit, I think what some people do is become robots and forget the fact that people hire you because of your personality and because of who you are. So it's very important to not do that. Even if it might get you rejected from a couple of jobs, it's probably because it's not the best fit for you. Getting rejected is not the end of the world. You learn this pretty quickly because you get rejected from a lot of jobs. You find the odd person who gets straight in, and they're the lucky ones, I guess. But if you aren't yourself in the interview process and just generally in life, you probably won't find yourself being very happy with it further down the line. So you might as well be honest with yourself and be honest with them. And ultimately, it is your unique selling point. It is the reason why people want to hire you. So always remain positive. Being at Grammar will put you in a very strong position for the future anyway. So if you work hard enough for something, you will definitely be able to achieve it. Cheers.